Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I thought I'd do a type of video I haven't done for a while. Occasionally I'll make a multi-project video, and this one I'm going to do 3 different ring shanks that I've not done exactly before. Changing up your ring shank is a way to make your rings look different and to give you some variety. So hopefully these 3 ideas will trigger some ideas in your head, and there's probably an infinite variety of ring shanks that you can come up with, but this will just be to stimulate your imagination, and hopefully it'll give you some good ideas, or you can just copy them the way they are. All right, well, let's make some ring shanks. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks you can get on my merch store. This one has some information about solder flow temperatures of various types, which is useful, and some of the other models have different stuff like conversion charts or information about ring sizing or whatever. I think they're pretty useful for keeping track of your projects and your ideas. And a key feature for me is this dot matrix in the background that's kind of hard to see on camera, but it helps me to draw better pictures since that's not my strongest suit. And so get yourself 1 or 2 of those. They're a great way to keep track of your stuff. So here's kind of what I had in mind today. I'm going to do 3 different ring shanks. This one I drew from the side because the feature on this one really is visible from the side. And that's we're going to have this kind of little curly Q in the inside here with a little ball between it. And that's going to be inside of the main band, which will support the bezel. I did make 3 bezels in advance for some pink tourmalines. I have these little pink tourmalines I picked up at the last show. These are all slightly irregular, but they're all kind of in the same size range. I didn't even really measure those. 6x7, 5x7, somewhere in that range. And so I think I'll probably use this one for this ring, this one for this ring, and this one for this one here. So first one, like I said, is going to have a little curly Q on the inside. It'll be just basically 2 bands, and I've already made the bezels for these in advance so that it would save time since we're doing 3 projects. And if you want to see how to make just a basic bezel, here's a link to a video about that. On these multiple ones, sometimes I make the bezels in advance so we can get through them all without having an inordinately long video. Alright, so that's going to be first. I used 10 gauge square that I flattened in my rolling mill. It starts out as 2.6 millimeters wide in both dimensions. I flattened it in one dimension down to about 1 millimeter. This inside one is 14 gauge square that I flattened to about 0.66, so it's equivalent to about 22 gauge sheet thickness on that one. And this one's about 18 gauge sheet for the outside, so you could use that as well if you wanted to, I suppose. I made a little ball out of scrap, and I did a lot of this in advance also on this one just because it was going to be pretty straightforward. I want to make sure it looked good before I did it. So I made this part here, I shaped this, and I was debating whether I should flare the top here out a little bit, and I might. I don't know. Let's see. So we'll get it on there, soldered on. I probably have to flare it a little bit first before we do that, so I may bend this back open and we'll do that. But the other ones, this is all going to be 14 gauge square wire, which is 1.6 millimeters. Same here on this one. The bezel I'm using is 26 gauge 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip, which equates to 4.76 millimeters by 0.41 millimeters, I believe. And I think that's pretty much all. I used some 26 gauge sheet for the base as well as these. Alright, well, let's see if we can assemble this one. Do you think I should flare it? It's already a little bit wider than this one. I'm thinking maybe if we solder this one in like this, try and get it centered like that, and then we can taper it down here a little bit so it's wider at the top but narrows down to about the same width as this 14 gauge square that's been flattened, which is narrower than the 10 gauge square which has been flattened. And that, I think that would look nice and a little bit more finished if we do it like that. I think most of these are relatively beginnerish sorts of rings. So that looks pretty good like that. I've got that pretty much centered at the top. So I think I'm going to sit it upright when I do this so it doesn't move much. If you want some information about my soldering setup, my torch and everything, and type of solder that I use, there's some information. I think let's set it up right like that. So we can get it to kind of stay in place. I think I'm going to pick solder a little bit where the tops come together and try and keep it in place. I've never seen pick soldering. That's a really useful skill, and I have a pretty good video about it, so check it out. There's a link to it. All right. One of the things that's going to make this a little more challenging is because some of this is hidden by that pad a little bit, so it's hard to get it all hot. But we need to get pretty much the entire thing hot. I'm not 100% sure I got an attachment there. Let's cool it off and see if things stayed centered. Actually, it did pretty good. This side did not solder though right there, so let's see if we can get that in there without having that drop. I think I have it soldered on the sides a little bit too. What we could do is use a magnesia block. That way things are less likely to shift on me or drop due to gravity, so I can probably get this soldered on a little better now. That's pretty cool. So I'm thinking, cut that down right about to the top there, and then we'll just solder it on there. What do you think? I'm going to cut it off and just file it down. For the last little bit, use my miter vise jig just to make sure I get it pretty straight. We'll probably just do it the same way we just did here. Why don't we sweat some solder on here? Just to be safe, let's use some medium. let's see if we can do this. Make sure it's attached to both sides. That looks pretty good. Like I said, I think on this one, probably file the bottom narrower so it gradually tapers up into that. You can see I'm trying to make it kind of narrow down like that. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to file the top down as well, significantly, because I don't need it to be like a little tower on top of here. So I'll do that, and then I'll pickle this, and then we'll get on to the next one. So that's ring number 1. Okay, for the next one here, I think I'm going to make it out of 4 pieces of 14 gauge square. I cut some that should be long enough to create the 2 different sides, and I think I'm going to start by, well, I think I'm going to straighten them out, strangely enough. We're all starting from the same shape, then it's easier to get them to be consistent. So I'm thinking I'm going to mark it about that right there. And I want these to be soldered together, but then to start curving slightly over there, that way. So let me mark one of these other ones so I do it symmetrically from the other side. Kind of like that. I think that'll work. Let's solder those together now, like that. See how it looks. Kind of like that. Okay, here's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to use a black marker so I can scratch exactly where I need to cut these. So technically I can cut this one and this one completely off, I think, and then just file them. It's actually pretty good. Let's solder that in. Okay, I'm going to clean this up with a Dremel a little bit. Right back. So I think it might be a good idea to add this after we shape this band. So let's make it a band, and then we'll figure out a way to solder that on there. Kind of looks like a mask. So now I need to just solder that in like that, which I think will be pretty. So I'm going to file these ones just a little more vertical. I think let's use some more medium soldering. So again, on something like this, most of the mass is in the band. Third hand eats up some heat too. Well, let's see if everything stayed where it was supposed to. So, just to expedite things, for the third one, creating kind of these little axe shapes. And what I did was I made a band that would exclude the length of this to get it to kind of where the size I want, which was about an 8 or 8.5, somewhere there. And then we'll, I wrap some of the square wire around just a dapping punch in order to get kind of a curve like that. And so I'll cut a couple of pieces off of this and we can just solder it on the ends of these. I bent them back, or I filed them backwards a little bit from the straight so that they would fit nicely. Alright, so I'm going to cut a couple of pieces out of this. And then after we get this soldered together, we'll have to make a couple of silver balls out of some scrap. Fit them in the cavity there. Oops. I hate when I do that. Okay, yeah. Let's try not to drop it in there this time, Jan. Fortunately, I got a little flux on my tweezers, so everything's sticking to them right now. So you got to set one of these little pieces down, and it sticks to the tweezers. There we go. Let's make a couple of balls here. I got some little scrap pieces, so let's try a piece about how big? I'll do 2 of them, let's see. That looks like that might work. I'm going to cut this one a little bit bigger. So see how the ball got all bumpy there? Sometimes if you just barely melt it and then let it cool off, it forms kind of a bumpy surface. If you heat it past the melting point and get it really, really hot, I don't know if it burns off the extra impurities or whatever, but it seems to make a nicer surface on it when it cools off. You know, if you don't want bumpy looking balls. They're both just slightly too big. I might try making a couple of different ones that are a tiny bit smaller. Let's try. Yeah, I think that's a little better. Okay, let's use those ones. Okay, I'm just going to cut this excess off here and file them. Okay. I might do a little refining with my rotary tool, so I'll be right back. Okay, I just kind of cleaned that up a little bit and smoothed those out so they're a little more symmetrical. Let's wrap this around the ring angle. So I can put this way or the other way. Not sure which way I want to do it. You like it like that? Or would you like it more like that? I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. I sort of liked the, I guess when it was spread out a little long ways. I kind of like that a little bit better maybe. So I think what I'm going to do is in the middle of each of these, I'm going to file kind of a vertical sort of a straight up and down kind of notch for that bezel to fit into. When you're soldering these in, you want to make sure that you look at it from all different angles so it's getting soldered in there, you know, straight this way so it's not tipped to one side or the other. Straight that way. Straight this way. You know, and get it as best you can anyway. All right, let's do a little medium pace soldering. It seems to work pretty well for this one, for these three so far. Getting really shaky. I think I need to eat some food, so good thing we're almost done here. Okay. Same as always with the bezel and the band. The band has usually got a lot more mass to it. The third hand again is eating up some of the heat. It may take a little longer than you expect. Let's see what it looks like. I used to make my beginning students throw their ring against the wall to make sure the bezel was soldered in. And throw it really hard. And also make sure the stone was in, if it wasn't a delicate stone. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and pickle that along with the others, and then I'm going to set the stones off camera and just show you the final result. Like I said, if you want to see how to do that kind of stuff, go to that bezel video I put a link to. And we'll see how these turn out. So I got everything polished up and set. And so here's the first one. See, it's got the little swirlies on the inside. I kind of like those. I think that turned out okay. I think that's a cool design. This one, kind of like this. I think that one turned out well as well. So a lot of people wear this way, so it kind of drapes back on their finger probably, rather than this way. So when you do that, it sticks up like that. But back here it won't. So that's number 2. That would be the crossover one. This one was the internal scroll one, we'll call it. And this is the double axe one. So I think I might like that one best of all, actually. So I'll get some better pictures of those and put them at the end. Tell me which one you like the best. Number 1, number 2, or number 3. Also, Tell me if you think I should have done this this way instead of this way. I'm curious what you think, because I think it turned out pretty good this way. So, all right, well, thanks for watching. All right, well, that was 3 different ring shanks. I hope you found those useful and enjoyable. If you did, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button before you go, and I would also love it if you'd go visit my main channel page on YouTube. I have almost 700 videos now. I've been doing this for 4 years at 3 videos per week, and so there's quite a bit of content there. All different skill levels, lots of different projects, different skills, how to use different tools, things like that. So there's a lot of variety. I'm almost certain you'll find something else you can use there. So watch a few of those and then subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you do that. There's no cost for that either. I wanted to thank some groups of people. First, my patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. They have created this wonderful environment over there with a lot of artistic people who are willing to share their ideas and who I've learned from, and I hope they've learned from me as well. But it's a really nice community, and I really appreciate their support, as well as getting to know them and finding out about them. So thank you for making it that way, you guys. My other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 26,700, which is awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you also for the really nice comments. I appreciate the suggestions and the constructive criticism. And when you share how you do things, I love learning new things from some of you guys too, because I certainly don't know everything, and I appreciate your input. So thanks for making it a nice place on YouTube as well. And thank you also for the kind contributions, like the Buy Me a Coffees, the Super Thanks, the merch purchases, buying my ebooks. All of that makes my channel sustainable, and I couldn't do this without your help. So thank you for that. Finally, don't forget to visit the video description down below. There's some information about this video, but also some links. One of the links is to my Patreon page if you want to check out more about that community. There's multiple tiers of membership and some cool things like exclusive videos. I have about 84, I think I counted last time, videos over there that I made just for Patreon. And we do a live stream now and again and those are perks that are available to Tier 2 and above. Tier 1 is mostly just to get rid of all the YouTube ads. So maybe check that out and become part of that community if you want to. There's another link to download my newest ebook, which is 2025's guide to all of the tutorials I did during that year. There's a page for each video, and it has a link to the video. It has a picture of the sketch I drew, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials, difficulty rating. If there's a stone, it's got some stone information, and also some notes that I made about the project. Things like, would I do it differently, or did I learn something useful from it, or did I think it was a good outcome or not a good outcome, and why. I believe there's 202 pages, and there's at least 170 projects linked to from that ebook. So check it out. It's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertip, and a really nice way to support my channel. Oh, and you can get multiple packs too for a discount, because I've done it for 3 years now. You can get 2023s, 2024s, and 2025s. I think you get $15 off the total if you buy all 3 at once. Or you can do any combination of 2 for a slight discount as well. Finally, there's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks that I showed you at the beginning. I find those invaluable for keeping track of my projects, since I've done so much in the past 4 years I can't remember everything I've done. So hopefully it helps me to keep from repeating myself too much. But get yourself 1 or 2 of those. They're a great way to keep track of things. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.